it's too early to talk about, but this is a scoop. I give you a scoop, okay? So, one of the women I spoke to this year was in Turkey, actually, in Ankara, and I call her Pepper Girl. Why? Well, when she was younger, she was forced by her school to go and pick peppers. The Han Chinese weren't expected to do this, but the Uyghurs had to. Most of people are familiar with Uyghurs picking cotton. Okay, they send them out. The school kids go out to pick cotton, and they work in the sun. It's very tough and so forth, but it's supposed to be good for them. And in this case, the girl was working for the Bingtuan, which is the Chinese military system, and they're sort of, it's almost like a homeland system inside Xinjiang. Well, the Bingtuan sent her out to pick peppers one day, and she had to wear these special gloves, and she had to wear a special mask and all this stuff because the peppers are very toxic. You can't eat them. Okay, well, what were they for? She said, I think there's something to do with cosmetics. And boy, did the light bulb go off in my head. I said, my God, is that true? Well, just 10 days ago, the Chinese came out with a video saying, look at these wonderful peppers that are grown in Xinjiang. Did you know more than half the world's cosmetics or lipstick comes from these peppers and pigmentation?
Whoa.
Okay. This is slave labor. Women are putting this stuff on their faces every day. Now, you could eat anything you like. Okay. Everybody's willing to eat anything. I'm cool with that too. I'm like that too. And everybody's willing to wear anything, leather, whatever. I love leather jackets. But putting something intimate on your mouth that comes from slave labor, that's a really kind of a sick idea, isn't it? Or I find it a sick idea.
I don't know. I'm going to stop wearing lipstick.
Wow. Well, yeah, Shelley, how do you feel that lipstick you wear might have been a Uyghur picking a peck of pickled peppers?
I mean, I think that's pretty stunning. I don't wear red lipstick, so I feel better about
He never
myself.
said red.
Yeah, it could be pink peppers.
Oh, okay. They could be pink
They
peppers.
could be picking a peck of pickled pink peppers.
It could even be, I know there's like lipstick or stuff. These are just things I know. Don't ask any more questions. But that like give your lips a little more of a plumpness to them.
Oh, right. There are some that like are tingly.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's because of the things that make peppers.
Yeah, because it's supposed
spicy.
to plump up your lips
Mhm.
by like stimulating them. That's
Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I should try it, theoretically. Like whatever.
Okay. So, I mean...
You see, this has got some resonance here. Okay, you see? So this one, okay, and this one I'm proud of because it's mine.
Well, now it's ours, Ethan, because you came on our show and you shared your scoop with us, and now we're going to scoop you.
Well, you could go ahead and try to do it, but I'm the one with the witness. So I'm the one who, and I hope that we'll see her testify in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Right? And, really, she only has this one little story, but it's such an important story. I mean, look, the cotton industry got pretty badly messed up by what Pompeo did with the saying that you couldn't have sourced cotton from Xinjiang, or at least from the big Tuans in Xinjiang. Now, if I were Estee Lauder and I was watching this show, I'd have broken into I'd be in a cold sweat at this point.
He is one of our biggest fans.
It's a woman.
Whatever.
If I was MAC, my wife's favorite is MAC. Okay, MAC lipsticks. If I were the MAC executive, I'd be pretty upset. This could be very damaging. This could make things very difficult if the video is telling the truth, which is that over 50% of all the reds in the lipsticks is coming from Xinjiang, from these peppers.
Wow.
Who's picking those things? And this is not an easy thing to do. And you have to have somebody who's willing to she got very sick from it.
Oh yeah. Willing, right, is the key word.
What happened to her? She had respiratory problems?
She had a lot of respiratory problems because just picking these peppers is so toxic. So it's not some delightful experience in any way. I mean, it was a kind of a very bad experience for her. Now, I'm not going to go on about how it's ruined her life or something like that, but this is slave labor. These are facts that change things. To me, that's a good one. Obviously, the wig industry was completely changed once Gulchera Hoja came out with their findings on that the hair was all from Uyghur women who, systematically get their hair cut when they enter the camps. Customs did crack down. They brought
13 tons, I think, of human hair they found.
That's right. Approximately 90,000 women gave their hair for those wigs.
Wow. Well, yeah, these are the things that like get people to wake up. It reminds me of, what was it, Upton Sinclair?
Oh, The Jungle?
Yeah, that was supposed to be about like trying to get people inspired, like, oh, the working conditions are so horrible. But it just made it ended up having that effect, but people were freaked out about like the bad quality of what they were eating. So yeah, like when like if like women started knowing like, oh my gosh, where's my lipstick coming from?
That does make you, because like this is all, that's at an ingredient level, right? Like it's not like you could buy Mac or Estee Lauder, like that one is necessarily better than the other because they're all getting their stuff from.
Oh yeah, it's the same product essentially.
It could even be the same company, like how, almost every countertop microwave sold in America is actually produced by the same single Chinese company. So like, yeah, I would imagine that all these cosmetics companies are getting like the certain color dye from the same place in Xinjiang, if that's indeed where they're getting it from. Or like, that wouldn't be a surprise that, one part of the supply chain is dominated by like a Chinese state-run company, because that just happens all the time.
Right, except I'm not even sure this one is a single company. It's a little hard to tell from the information we have. We're just starting to look into this. But as I said, when she said that, it was one of those moments where I went, oh, this has real potential. Okay. And this can, again, I'm sorry to put it this way, guys, but everybody knows I'm thinking it'll take them months to fix this up. That's all I'm thinking. Okay. Call it just throwing a spanner in the works temporarily. But sometimes we can't expect that much more than that. Look, the fact is, capitalism is a great system. It'll find ways to work around these things. But, this trouble comes back to China and haunts them. And my key feeling here, since you've got me on the show, I'll just tell you what I think. I think this is the main thing stopping them from outright killing all the Uyghurs, because I think that is the plan.
Really?
I don't think they want these people around. I believe there's a racial basis for that, what they're doing. But I'd go further, and I'd say that now that these crimes have been committed against these people, they want to cover it up in the old-fashioned way the communists always use, which is just killing anybody who saw anything. But, why isn't that happening? Probably because of things like this, because we keep enough information coming in. We keep the issue on the front burner as long as we can. We hold that up until maybe Xi Jinping, maybe there's a reform or something like that.
Well, the problems with Uyghurs had began well before Xi Jinping even came to power. So it's
right. I mean, you were telling us about the organ harvesting of Uyghurs in the 1990s back on another podcast.
That's true, but that was
I'm thinking about, what was it, the massacre in 2008, 2009 in Urumqi?
2009.
It was like 8-ish, 9.
This is 2008. But that was relatively small scale. I mean, this is it's the reaction that it led to, which is so significant. Look, the organ harvesting in 1997, after the Gulja massacre, was minor. I mean, it was probably less than 100 people, maybe. Okay? We can say that, what we're looking at now is an acceleration of all that. We didn't have evidence of sexual slavery in the Uyghur community, the kind of evidence we have today. There was no real attack on fertility, Uyghur fertility, not significantly.
Well, since you bring those things up, Ethan, and we always like to take even darker turns on this podcast. So after this Uyghur tribunal, what is made clear now about the Chinese Communist Party's, treatment of Uyghur women?
If we do have something good to say about the BBC, it was the report that they did on rape, because they made some real breakthroughs in that area. Now, these were two of the interviews were with women I'd interviewed myself, one in Sweden and another in Almaty. And there was a problem, which I kind of recognized at the time, but I didn't feel I could really do anything about, which was that their husbands were with them when they interviewed. In many cases, their husbands didn't know that they'd been raped. I did, because I knew the lawyer who'd represented both women, and she had really hinted to me that this is what had happened. In both cases, the women came clean once they left their homes, went off touring or so forth. And then under questioning, they decided to reveal that they'd been raped. Now, I do have something very big coming in my book about that rather spectacular story. So I'm quite aware of this issue. And it's, as much as I did run into it too while I was doing Falun Gong, this is more systematic and it's far more public. So I think that's the significant difference. And I do believe that's indicates the racial aspect of this.
Right. And the forced sterilization as well, right?
That I know less about, but I think Adrian Zentz is the master of this field in most areas. And he showed that conclusively, that the mass sterilization is taking place and has been for some time.
Yeah, I don't think people really talk enough about this sort of like Han supremacy thing the Chinese Communist Party has been pushing, because it's having some real nasty effects.
I think it does. I believe that this feels different to me than any other investigation I've undertaken because of that. There's a straight out racial quality to this. There's sort of a tendency to do things to women that you would only do to sort of like an animal, torturing an animal, like what little boys do to frogs, that kind of thing. I mean, it's a really repulsive and unbelievable experience. I've got some stories about that. Snuff displays, this kind of thing. So I think it's very important to bring that stuff out. And it's very, very hard for Muslim women in particular to bring this stuff out. It's very difficult for them to talk. But I don't think we should just get caught up in that one issue either. I mean, the labor issue is a big one because it's the money, and because it's directly related to us and what we produce and what we buy. So we have direct involvement.
I actually wanted to ask you about organ harvesting and the Uyghurs, because I think the last time you were on, you had expressed that you felt like this was still an area where people didn't really want to like address it or touch it because it's a harder like thing to prove or to talk about versus like, slave labor. Like you said, that's more direct in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think there's much less cover-up of the transplant industry. I mean, the transplant industry is far more secretive than, say, the production of sneakers or something, obviously. And the Chinese have definitely learned to keep it quite quiet. I wouldn't say that I added a lot of new evidence on this over the last year. I'm very happy about the evidence I got that I received already. I was able to talk to them about how I think it's interesting that China, is not playing to its real strengths. I mean, the area where China was supposed to succeed here was pharmaceuticals, big pharma. That was its future. I knew that 20 years ago. Organ harvesting was obviously a distraction. Transplant industry is a distraction. It's quick capital. It's quick cash. It's nothing more than that. It's a way of destroying some enemies. Your future is in the confidence game called pharma, and they keep losing at that game. And that is very bad news for the Uyghurs because, of course, well, they lost with infant formula. That defect, the fact that people have to go to Hong Kong to buy infant formula is a disaster. And then, of course, COVID and coming out with such a rotten vaccine. Okay, which is the one thing that indicates to me that they definitely did not put this thing did not let it escape from the lab on purpose. Okay, because obviously you'd have a wonderful vaccine and waiting in the wings, and then China to the rescue. That didn't happen. So I think, what I see is a terrible series of errors. And like a dog returneth to its vomit, it just keeps going back to organ harvesting. Again, I would have thought they'd be going. It'd be finished, but it's not. And all the evidence shows that the hospitals are back in business. Now, there is the one piece of news I'd say is that hopefully, I think we can start to see some action pretty soon from Congress, which hopefully will lead to some embargoes on some of the surgical equipment that's being sold to China and that sort of thing, because that's very important to break up. And there was some wonderful work done by some Falun Gong practitioners in Prague who really did groundbreaking work on establishing which companies were selling bioglue, for example, or kidney transplant robotics to China. That will have a dramatic impact.
Yeah, it'll take them months to clean that up.
It'll take them months.
So much relentless optimism.